the purpose of the lithium excise tax. As I heard your representative Rebecca say, that one of the initial goals was to provide economic prosperity to the most impacted areas. I don't see how this budget or this proposed plan provides any economic prosperity opportunities for the areas of Nyland, Bombay, Westmoreland, and Calipatria. I was looking at your quality of life breakdown, 5%, 2%, 1%. The thing marked 1%, which was the thing that would create pathways to employment and break down barriers. But you wouldn't invest the least of anything into that, but you would invest more money into backpack drives and parks. Our kids don't need more backpacks, they need to breathe. They need policies that's going to enable them to breathe for the next 30 years when you have industries coming in, creating circumstances that's going to make it harder on already impoverished communities. I was listening to the sheriff say that the sheriff department need all of this money to provide wraparound services. They want to make programs. We want to help people. It's not about the programs if it's not helping the people. A lot of the things in Imperial County is not that you don't have the resources, it's that they're not employed well. They're not informing the community. There's things right here that can help disenfranchise, disinvested communities, but they don't have access to that. Nobody's coming 4 times a year to tell them to enroll in this program and enroll in that. That's constantly going to hold your community back. I was listening to Ms. Bean say that in 2023 you held 4 community meetings throughout the year to advise people what was going on. I don't know how much of what was said inside of those meetings made it into your policy, but in the last 3 days we did outreach and engagement. We've got over 200 comments. In your whole year you got 120. Some effort could have been made to get deeper into what the community really wants. So you're going to hear a list of people come to me after and tell you what their community specifically need. I urge you to take this into consideration before you make any agreement on a lithium excise franchise tax. I won't take up too much of your time. I'll just reiterate this, that make this project a lithium for the people and not just about profit. Thank you.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. Sonia Chavez, I am the current mayor for the city of Calipatria, and I am here today on behalf of the North End communities to express some concerns on the proposal of the excise tax funding plan. I do want to thank Ms. Barry Dean for the presentation. Your efforts definitely show, and the work that you're doing for the county. Thank you. Part of the worksheet that we received is population data and reporting that Ms. Bean mentioned. And the second paragraph does say that the County of Imperial is required to annually report on a date and in a manner determined by the Department of Tax and Fee Administration. The communities to which funding was distributed based on SB 125, section 47100A to B. When this bill came to the city of Calipatria, we approved it, the initial draft. The initial draft, the language that read on there, did say, of the amount dispersed to the County of Imperial pursuant to the subdivision, the county shall establish a method to distribute an amount not less than 30% of that dispersed amount to the County of Imperial communities that are most directly impacted by the lithium extraction activities. Before the bill was passed, there's 2 words that were added on there, and indirectly. So that included the entire county, and that's fine. We are here, I mean, we need to work united on this. The concern is that as we looking at the numbers that were on the dollar amounts that were on the presentation today, but looking at it as a pie, I mean, our most affected community would only benefit 1%. Nyland at 7% of this funding. And we're not here for the entire piece of pie, but we are here today just to ask you to reevaluate it a little bit. I think we're almost there. It's almost I think, perfect for the county, but if you can, for the entire Imperial County, but if you can just spend a little bit more time on it and just reconsider looking at those numbers just a little bit, and I think that you could get us all on board on approving this.
My name is Daniela Flores. I'm the executive organizer for Imperial Valley Equity and Justice Coalition. I want to start off by pointing out that the chair of this meeting did not stop previous commenter from slander against our group. The speaker raised allegations, but our organization has not been notified of any current investigation, and I urge you to clear that record. That aside, I find it curious that we're being called dangerous because we give information to people. But we give them information because we refuse to let the county to take decisions that greatly impact the North End without their knowledge and without their voice informing the plan. But we're not here to talk about IV equity. We are here to ask that the board tables this discussion and redistributes the allocation plan with directly impacted communities at the decision-making table. Like Barry Bean said, we are 4 years away from any lithium tax, so again, what's the rush? 4 listening sessions is not enough, as you've heard. Based on the county commissioner commenters, there were a survey going around to county departments. Unfortunately, the rest of the incorporated and unincorporated communities did not get the same kind of survey. Your departments are here pleading a case for the needs that they need today, not 4 years from now. And we agree that those services that funding should be provided to those departments, but that's not the responsibility of this tax. What are you all gonna do to make sure that you fund those gaps today? It is the county's responsibility. Barry Bean showed that infrastructure slide, and it talked about the great need that there is for infrastructure, but when for every $6.4 million, you're only allocating $320,000 for 5%, or 5% for the quality of life projects, the problem is that it's not enough. It's only 5% that you're proposing for green spaces, recreation, resident and support services, childcare, scholarships, infrastructure, public transportation, educational enhancements, and health and wellness. All of that under that $320,000 for every $6 million. So I guess with the remainder, I have a lot to say, but with the remainder of the time, I'm just gonna summarize what in these individual 100 public comments that I'm about to submit. It is not an exhaustive list, but it's a list of the highest priority needs. So I'm gonna take the remaining seconds I have. So residents said that new roads, repairs of existing roads, sidewalks, so 25 residents voiced that as one of the most important priorities. New local stores and markets, access to fresh fruit and produce, 19 people. Parks, amenities including playgrounds, recreation, shade, benches, activities for kids, indoor recreation, youth, and senior centers, around 30 comments together with that. They want to purchase a water company, they want water access, and they want lower water rates. Better transportation, healthcare facilities, new sewer system, cooling community resource center. You guys said there's no staffing for an island. We'll find that resource. That's not an excuse. Training and work opportunities for local residents, more jobs, libraries with Wi-Fi that people can use, post office for an island, less pollution, citywide cleaning, affordable housing, shade, fire department, Bombay, abatement, water park, public showers, gym, filtered water stations, more trees, protect fish, animal control, hotel, new police department for Calipatria, small business, health, art, education, and triage for the floods. So I'm gonna submit 100 independent comments. That is not my public comment, it's 100 public comments.
I'll just use my time to, one, reiterate what a lot of people have said, that we like to see this table in more community engagement. Based on Chair Blancafte's direction, I don't want to retread that ground. But I think one of the other things to consider is that there's time. It's been shown today during the presentation, it's been mentioned by other commenters, and I think that time should be key to what we want to see as a successful plan for implementation of the strategy. Timing is key, and as I sit here or step in the back and listen to a lot of the department heads come by, I can see that they also want to be able to provide better services. They see the need. I've been in several spaces where I've heard it directly from them and from community members that attack them. And, that's not nice, but residents have a voice too. But what it does tell me is that maybe there is a need to just stop reconsider, engage, but also use that time to use the resources that other groups within the county, the cities, and organizations locally have been using the state's resources to do those plans that can feed into this discussion. Somebody mentioned workforce training only being a 1%. Well, the Workforce Development Board is doing a workforce needs assessment right now. Why don't we use that to inform what that need is going to be, right? IBC launched the LIFT program. There's 2 certificate programs there. Well, what are their evaluations of what the needs are going to be after that? There's a public health assessment being done as part of the specific plan process. What's the output of that, right? These are things that will not only incorporate the public's input, but also give you the data to make a more informed choice. And as somebody said, you're not going to make everybody happy, but at least you'll have that to look at where the need is going to be high, where community is going to input for their specific needs, because they live this day today. Some of us are going to be in different areas out of the year, so we won't be able to see that, right? I work mainly at Raleigh, so I know what a lot of the community of Raleigh needs. I grew up in Calexico, so I know a lot of the historical needs, but I'm not going to know what Oakville is going to need. I'm not going to know what Bombay is going to need, so they should be able to speak for themselves on that. So I urge you, take a step back, look at those resources, and engage in more community conversations. Thank you.
My name is Fernanda Vega, and I am the North End Lead with IB Equity and Justice. I'm here to express serious concerns about the current lithium excise tax funding plan. First, the 30% allocated to communities is the absolute bare minimum you could have done. It shows that this board is not prioritizing the well-being of the communities most affected by this industry. It sends a clear message. The county administration gets 60%, but the residents who live closest to the extraction site, who will suffer from the environment and public health impacts, are left with crumbs. I'm glad that someone said that the world is watching, because the world is watching that you don't care about these communities. Second, there's no Spanish translation of the updated plan. We cannot continue to push aside Spanish-speaking residents, especially when their health and livelihoods are at stake. A lack of translation is a lack of transparency. How are our communities supposed to fully engage when they cannot access the most basic information? There were some community members who were sitting down that had to leave because they were just not understanding what anybody was saying. Third, there are only 3 official advisory committees, but where does that leave communities like Nyland and Bombay Beach? If the North End Action Council is not considered an advisory group, then who is overseeing the allocations for these areas? Who is ensuring that they are fairly represented in these decisions? Earlier, I think Barry Bean said that the Imperial County would be in full responsibility of those cities. And if the county is in full responsibility of those cities, they are lacking a lot. They're lacking a post office, which is, once again, the bare minimum. Finally, the use of population metrics to determine allocations is a flawed approach. You cannot allocate resources based on population alone when the needs of these communities are so dramatically different. The people in Salton Sea Beach, Desert Shores, and other directly affected areas are already living with the environmental consequences of past neglect and policy decisions. They need more, not less of the funding to ensure that they can cope with the challenges that lithium extraction will bring. This plan, as it stands, is not fair, not transparent, and not grounded in the actual needs of the most impacted communities closest to the lithium extraction. Over the weekend, we spent some time talking to community members. They want to get involved. They want their communities to thrive too. Today, you have received an additional 100 comments. Therefore, any decision today would be premature. I urge you to table this item and further engage with community members to adopt a more equitable approach that genuinely benefits all of the residents of Imperial County, not just the field. Thank you.
Good morning, my name is Veneranda Cooper. 6.4 million. That's what we're all here about, the lithium. So, the county of Imperial is getting 60%. The lithium extraction tax plan is inequitable for the fight, for the front line, which is Calapat, Nyland, Bombay. These are the communities that are going to be the most affected. This is where you guys should focus on. It shouldn't be on population because of the fact that we are such a small community. We're such a small community because we don't have the funding. Raleigh, Central, Calexico, they have the funding. That's why they have the high population. We don't have the high population on that. That's why I feel you guys need to reassess where the money and how much percent goes to the north end. Sorry, I'm a little nervous.
Deep breath.
I know. I was born and raised in Calabash. I'm an advocate for the community on the north end. I try to go and help the most that I can, wherever I can. I don't feel this is justice for the north end. You have people commenting from Calexico saying the same things. I mean, what are we to do? How are our population supposed to go up with the 1%, the 7%, and the 25% that you guys have planned for us in the next 5 years? I just hope that you guys come back to the table, hold on your agreement for today, and acknowledge us. We're here. We're not going anywhere. We want to grow. We want to have a grocery store, a restaurant, hotel. We want to have the roads that El Centro has. We don't have paved roads in Island, Bombay, Calipatria, the east side of Calapat. Take a look. Go down there, please. You guys are all from Braulio, Central, Indio. Please visit us. Go down there and actually see what we actually have and what we actually need. With that, I just hope that you guys take this and everybody's comments into consideration of when you guys do the tax. I know you guys have already set your media afterwards, but I hope that you guys do hold and wait and discuss it again, and like someone said, invite the community out there. Get our mayor out there.
I'm wearing another hat. So, I am here representing the California Pier Watch, and I'm here representing the residents of the West Shores of the Salton Sea. There was only one stakeholder meeting held in our area. There are 34 to 37% that don't have smartphones or access to the internet. They could not comment at all. The tax formula you're using, you've used for over 100 years. It leaves the marginalized and disenfranchised communities poor. It always seems that we always get that problem. I'm not even going to go into the speculation of the money because that's what it is. We're upset because we believe as leaders we should have been brought to the table with the entire Board of Supervisors and talked to and given a seat at the table, and we were not really. Sometimes our supervisor is wonderful, I'll give him that, but sometimes he's lacking, and that's hard for us. We come to these meetings, we beg for things, and we are begging for you to postpone this, even if it's 2 months, and to meet with the leaders of the communities and have a decent conversation with us about what you're going to do to our lives. All of us are directly affected. I understand the cities that have it, the plants, but all of us are affected by this. So I am asking you to please postpone your vote and bring leadership to the table and sit with us and listen to our concerns. So thank you.
Come to the county and then disperse to any community group. So for setting expectations today, at a minimum, we're probably looking
Control of the advisory committee. So we decided to form a non-profit.
However, the Salton Sea known geothermal reservoir is approximately 5,000 to 8,000 feet deep.
The second thing is the purpose of the lithium excise tax. I don't know how much of what was said inside of those meetings made in the secret policy, but in the last 3 days, we did outreach and engagement. We've got over 200
A
comments.
little bit, I think we're almost there. It's almost, I think, perfect for
Apoyo del condado en el municipio de Tlalpan. Yo creo que es esencial.
But I'm not gonna know what Boca is gonna need, I'm not gonna know what Bombay is gonna need, so they should be able to speak for themselves on that.